right. Bright suns or many moons, just depending on when you're hanging out with me today. It's been a morning, but I think I figured it out. Pod looks a little bit better, figuring this out as I kind of go. Excited to do a second episode. Hope you enjoyed the first one. It's out in the world. I only sent it to a few people just to get some feedback. I think I said a lot, but hey, we're going to get better. That's really what life's about. Do something, get better, try it again, go at a different approach. So this is my second approach at the Mishmash podcast. So as always, I'll be looking over to my left because I'm a professional and I wrote down things, so I didn't just sound like a dum-dum rambling on. I appreciate it. If you watch the first one, again, it was probably only the 3 people I sent it to, but that's okay. Charlie was probably one of them. She was like, "Dad, you did a YouTube thing?" I was like, "Yeah, honey, I did a YouTube thing." She's like, "Oh, you got to send it to me. Got to send it to me." And she texted me for a few days and was just like, "Oh, send it to me, send it to me." So I sent it to her. I don't know if she actually watched it or not. She didn't say anything. So today, last week, kind of gave you a glimpse of what Mishmash is and what we are going to kind of go through. But today, I'll go through not who I am, but what I am. Kind of touched on a few things. Some of them kind of interchangeable, but for the most part, I got a good list going, and I think this is who I really am, between who I am and what I am. So, first and foremost, I'm a mama's boy. Always have been, always will be. My mom passed, 2008, so however many years ago. Since then, I've kind of picked up moms along the way, just strong women that I thought could have my best interest. It's funny, because after you lose your mom, at least from a male perspective, you kind of feel not just lost, but it's hard to find a woman again that's truly proud of you. And I don't mean that to be sad, but it's just hard to find that person. Moms look at their sons, again, this is just from my perspective, but moms look at their sons as the best man, right? The best man that they could possibly raise. And after you lose that, it's hard to replace that. And I don't think you'll ever be able to replace that. But I've picked up some strong women along the way, whether they're my age that I can just bounce ideas off of, or women that would have been my mom's age and can kind of help give me guidance. But I've always gravitated towards women, and I think it's because of my mom, and not in like a weird way, but having a boss that's a woman, or when I hire managers, I tend to just look for women. When there's key components in the restaurant, I always find women are, the women in the center kind of help keep the men in check, which is great, right? The last gig I had, every single one of my build team members were a girl or a female. And it was because men just listen to women. I mean, we should in general, but we're idiots and we're always like, yeah. And so if you have that strong component in your restaurant, super helpful to keep those guys in check. So, I'm a mama's boy, and I always have been, and I always will be. And love you, Mom. You were the best. So it's funny. I was just telling a story to the kids, and this probably isn't funny, but it was funny to me. I was a really bad kid, and my mom used to just whoop my ass. Not like she'd come home on a Wednesday and just be like, huh, time to whoop some ass. But it was just like stupid things I did. And it was a different time. My mom was just, a product. She just was tough, and she was a drill sergeant, and she did what she felt was necessary. And I have no weird feelings about it. It was just what I just deserved, an ass whooping. And so I always call my kids soft. I'm like, man, you guys are soft. Man, you guys are soft. You don't listen to mom, man, you guys are soft. And I was telling them, we were out to lunch on Friday, and I was telling them stories just about grandma whooping my ass. And there were some ones, I didn't give a check to the school for summer school, and so of course my mom called and was like, hey, I'm going to take AJ out to lunch, and we're going to go, look at the classes and whatever. And they were like, yeah, no, Adam's not signed up. She's like, what's this now? That was a beating. And then what were some of the other? I told the kids that I used to go to Hebrew high school every day, or every Monday and Wednesday after school, and it was mainly, I think, to keep us out of trouble. We weren't ultra, conservative or ultra religious, but we were keeping out of trouble, especially with my mom, who worked Monday through Friday. She was an educator, so she wasn't home when we got home. So that was at least 2 days that we would be out of trouble if we weren't in sports. So every Monday, Wednesday, we went to temple. And of course, I had best friends from regular high school that were in my Hebrew high school. And I was just, I was awful. And one year, I was so bad, just goofing around with my buddies. I think we had like 2 or 3 weeks left. I don't remember. And they just kindly asked me not to return that year. I was going to go on to the next year. I got whooped. Yeah. And while I was getting whooped, my mom was like, that's a reflection of me. And I thought that was hilarious. But, so I'm telling all these stories, and mind you, I tell the kids a lot of great stories about my mom, but these were just like, we just got on the topic of just getting our ass whooped. And Esme looked at me and she was like, are you sad or happy grandma's not here? And of course I'm very sad. Mom was best. She was literally the best to ever do it. She was funny and smart, and way smarter than I am, and hardworking. And there are so many great qualities about her. And it was just funny because at that moment, I think Esme thought, man, Dad just got his ass whooped every day. And that's not true. I have a lot of great memories with my mom that far exceed the ass whoopings, but the ass whoopings were always funny. One time, I forget what my brother got in trouble for. He got in trouble for something, or my mom heard something on the phone, or I don't remember. But my brother never got whooped because he was the best. And I'm so used to getting yelled at that my mom is yelling at Aaron in like the middle of the night, and I didn't know. I woke up out of a dead sleep. And I just went and showered because I thought she was yelling at me for being late to school. So I just got up and showered. And then I got out of the shower, and she was standing outside the bathroom. And she's like, and what the hell are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm late. I got to get dressed. She's like, it's midnight. Go back to bed. So that was my routine. That's how routinely I was yelled at by my mom, because I must have drove her crazy with my ADD and just who I was. I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't imagine. But, I think just being raised by a mom, being raised by a single mom, and just saw how tough she was and all the things she went through in her life. I look back now, and I'm like, God, I probably drove her crazy. and not on purpose. I just me being me. I probably just drove her crazy. That's why we clashed. But she was always great. And now I learned from, now the biggest lesson I think is I learned from it, right? It's now I try to take my time. If every parent goes, I never yell at my child. Bullshit. Unless you're unless you're out to lunch and you just really don't care about kind of their atmosphere. I yell at the kids all the time, but not like screaming on full go, It's more like, have a conversation. Have another conversation. Have 7 more conversation that I'm like, I'm gonna lose it. And I usually warn them. I go, do you want me to lose it right now? Is this really where you want to take me? And by that point, they're usually like, okay, got it. I'm like, okay, good. Why did you have to get me to 7? We started this at a 2. But they're funny. And so I think just learning my lessons and really having conversations, but also I'm fortunate and, I have time and there's 2 parents, and that was something I don't think my mom always was afforded, was the time. But I will say this, my mom used to whoop my ass and then immediately after, like, bring me a Band-Aid, right? Not necessarily a physical Band-Aid because she was never that crazy, but, just like an emotional Band-Aid, right? And it wasn't like, you made me do this. It was like, hey, I'm sorry. And she immediately probably felt bad. Of course, she's not here. Now that I'm an adult, I can't ask her those questions. But it was just funny to hear Esme go, man, did you want grandma around? And absolutely, I would trade everything, to have mom around with the grandkids, because she would absolutely love them. And you're missed, Mom. Love you. And as this podcast goes, I'm sure I'll relate a lot of things back to Mom. And it's because for 22 years that it was, for the most part, for 22 years, it was just, Uncle Aaron, me, and Mom. So it was a good run. We had a great run, and she was a great woman. So love you, Mom. So I'm a mama's boy. Next thing, I wrote down cook/chef, and I really started thinking, what's the difference? What's the difference between a chef and a cook? And you could ask a million people this question and you'd get a million answers. Because I think that the definition is defined more by the person than really what it is. But I thought about all these extravagant answers, right? Like, oh, you come up with this and you do that. I think what the real answer is there's one word. They're defined by the same, and there's a one word difference. A cook, you can define by, I made this, right? And then if you asked a chef the same thing, right? They could say, I made this happen. So a cook is going to make it for you right then and there, right? You need a checklist done, they're going to get it done. You need an egg scramble, 2 egg scramble, they're going to get it done. And they can say, I made this, right? Hey, 2 specials walked in, they can make it. The difference is the chef would say, I made this happen. And what I mean by that is they took the time, right? It's their creativity on the plate. So it's their recipe. They wrote the recipe. They made an order guide or ordered the new items that they needed to make it, or combined different items that was already in the restaurant to make it. They taught the team members how to make it, or the cooks how to make it. So there's just that one added word between them, right? I made this versus I made this happen. And I think a lot of times I am the cook, and I love being a cook. It's what I do when I'm stressed. I cook, I chop onions, I grate garlic, because it's a stress reliever. When I'm stressed in the restaurant, dish pit, 100%. Just that monotonous, repetitive thing over and over again, just to center yourself. So, yeah, I made this versus I made this happen. And I was a chef, or I am a chef. I guess I would define myself as a chef. I was a cook for a long time, learning, watching, repeating, and really just soaking up as much as I possibly could. I will say I think that I kind of jumped off the page a little bit, from going from a cook to a chef. Probably these last like 10 years, because really a chef is a teacher, and that's what I love doing. I absolutely love being a teacher. I love making people around me better. I like making and informing teams that there's a better life ahead of them. And sometimes cooks can't necessarily see that. They only see, the I clocked in, I clock out. Whereas a chef can kind of pinpoint that skill and that personality trait that we all need to kind of build that team. And that's another perspective of making it happen for a chef, right? They built their team. Most times they're the ones hiring the guys and gals in the back. I'm sure there's plenty of restaurants. Oh no, the GM does it all. That may be true, but for the most part, the GMs don't go, "Hey, here's a new cook for you," right? They may go, "Hey, this guy's great," or "This girl's great. We interviewed them, really love them. Want your take on it?" Because ultimately, that person that's leading the back of house is in charge. And so my last probably 10 years, I spent a good deal of time with cooks, and not just, hey, this is how we do things. Hey, follow this standard. I really got to understand who they were and teach them and show them that this is a rough industry, but there's people out there that still care about you. How one of the old owners I used to work for, really creative guy, really great mindset, really funny, and really, really nice. Just an all-around really nice person. And he was telling me a story because I was trading stories with him, even though I'm relatively much younger than most of the owners that you meet kind of out there in the culinary world. But he was telling me a story that he grew up in the same kind of era where chefs were kind of rock stars, and they were kind of the bad boys, and you had to be tough, and you had to have this persona and all these things. And it was army training, and you're going to do it this way and all those things. And so he's telling me the story about when he completely switched, and it switched overnight. He was in Arizona at one of his restaurants, and things were going off the rails, and we're animated. We got animated as we are. We're artists for the most part. And this, there was like a tray of, pots and cups and all this stuff. And he was just so pissed off. He picked it up and threw it. And as he threw it, there was this like a really young lady walking around the corner that worked for him, and it hit her. And that's not funny. That's not funny. But what's funny is how he realized in that split second how much of an asshole he was. And it's funny to hear your boss or your owner or whatever, whoever that person in a piece of power is in your life, to admit like, yeah, I was wrong. That was an asshole move. I'm never going to do that again. I don't want to ever be that person again. And so it was funny to hear that out of his mouth. But yeah, he was really awesome. So I think at that moment, I made a decision, of which I was never that guy that was always turned on, right? I describe my management style as leaky faucet. I don't think it's a real thing, but that's who I am as a person. To be a great leader, you have to have great communication. And so I call it leaky faucet, which is it's that drip. right? It's that drip of visual perspicuity and subservient leaders, right? There's a lot of different ways to look at how you manage your day, but I call it leaky faucet, and so it's just the drip. It's, hey, where are we at with this? Hey, did you guys get that? Hey, we needed to clean that, right? It's kind of everyone understanding that you're continuously looking at them and keeping them in check. And then eventually your staff will get so used to it, or your team members will get so used to it, that they don't need you to do that anymore. They don't need you to stand over them. They don't need you to micromanage, which I hate micromanaging, but they won't need that anymore, because you've set an expectation. And naturally, if you're a decent leader, your team or the people around you will want to rise to that expectation. They won't want to let you down. And so leaky faucet, because if you're closed off, there's no communication. There's no communication either way, which is terrible. That's when things go off the rails. And then also, when the faucets are fully turned on, that's usually when, it's the I'm an idiot sandwich, and people are going just haywire. And what I find in younger managers that are kind of out there, they want everything to be perfect, and that's totally fine. That's great. That's a great trait to have, that you want it to be perfect. It's how to handle those expectations when things aren't perfect. And that's what took me a while, because I wanted things to be great, and I always worked hard. And when people aren't understanding or don't get it, or it's not perfect, it's how you show up to that situation, right? Where did you meet that person? Did you meet them at a full faucets on, screaming at them? Because at that point, all you're really going to do is just turn them around in circles, because they're not going to know where to start and how to make it better. Because at that point, you're not really teaching or telling them anything. You're essentially just letting out your frustrations on that poor individual who's probably living check to check with 2 jobs, and not having a great time. And so that leaky faucet, that it kind of helps you get to where you want your staff to be. And it takes a while, but once you're there, it's awesome. I always tell all my team members, like, I love to be lazy. I hate working a position, and it's not for the fact that I hate working. I love cooking. I've loved it since I was little. It's one of the things I'm really good at. And manipulating food to do what I want it to do is a thing that I've become really good at. But there's just these people out there that they can't grasp the idea of it, and so it's very, very difficult. And so taking the time to make them understand, like, hey, things aren't always going to be perfect, but how can we get better, right? And if you can do that every single day, and if you work diligently at it, I think my last job, it took me, well, this was obviously a long time ago, but when I was a kitchen manager, the last time I was a kitchen manager, it probably took me a solid 6 months of working almost every day. Starting a new restaurant's not easy, but if you work at it diligently enough, and you get those people on your side, and you have your key players, and you do all of the things correctly, after that, it becomes very easy. And at that point, you can take a step back, and you don't have to run grill on a Friday night, because hey, my grill cook, not only is he or she going to show up, they're going to do it to the best of their ability, and their ability is good enough that's going to have a great shift. And if you can do that with every single position and every single one of your team members, your job becomes much easier. And then you can afford yourself to have those one-on-ones, right? If you don't have the people in place, or you didn't do the training properly, or you didn't teach them or hold them to an expectation, if you didn't do all of those things, as a manager or leader, you're just going to run around forever and put out fires. But if you can teach your team members to put out fires, and you can teach them to make decisions, right? As when the team members learn to make decisions, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's where the coaching begins. But if they just come to you with every problem, you'll never get anything done. I promise you, you'll never get anything done. And that sucks because you'll have no spare time to then pour into your team members, right? So at Chipotle, I actually learned the art of one-on-one. And the art of one-on-one isn't really, it's not being empathetic or even really sympathetic. It's just figuring out where your team members are at, right? It's like, hey, how's your day going? And not like, hey, did you get your prep list done? It's really about the person. And there was a great example. One of my mentors had this great example, and this he almost lost a great team member for it. And so he had I think it was like Spanish friars or something, because he didn't speak Spanish. So he brought in an interpreter that could help him. And so he would have one-on-ones with all the Hispanic speaking or all the Spanish speaking people in his building. And he almost lost a really great team member, and he couldn't figure out why. And so he sat down with them, and they had to fax something. This is a long time ago. This is when fax machines were still a thing. A team member needed to fax something, and it was about their child in school. And they thought that they were going to be in trouble and had to, find a new school system, which means moving and all of these things. And so he goes, my mentor goes, hey, well, let me take a look. Let me see what I can do to help you, right? And he calls, so they're interpreting, and then he calls the school, and he's like, hey, so-and-so said this, and they go, yeah, he's just faxing it incorrectly. And he just needs to turn the fax page over because the fax machine's not doing it the correct way, or he's not putting it in the correct way. So something so simple, and I know that's not the case everywhere you go, but something so simple saved him a great team member. And for those of you that are out there in the field, know that great team members, once you've got them, and they're passionate and they love coming to work and they're good at their job and they are mastering their skills and they're positive and all of those things that we look for in a team member, they don't come easy. It takes a lot of time and effort for either you yourself to put into that person or someone that they've already previously worked for. And so it's not always easy to find those people. And if my mentor didn't have the capability or the time to sit down, and he was busy running positions, he would have lost that team member. And so being diligent in your work and setting yourself up for success and being that leader in the building, go be lazy. I encourage you, go be lazy, because when you're lazy and you don't have to work every position every single day, and you get to have fun with your staff, and you can talk to them as human beings instead of just where are we at with X, it makes your life just that much better. But I always tell people, I want to be lazy. I want to be lazy every day. I want to come in, I want to have fun. I want to turn music on, and I want to watch the symphony that is the kitchen line go to work. And I want to watch prep accurately, and I want to watch managers make great lists and great objectives and goals for my team members, and I want to watch all my team members accomplish that, whether it's ticket times. So if you're not familiar, how fast you can get the food out of the kitchen, which I know is everyone's expectation, is get it as fast as you can. But let's have great ticket times today, or let's keep it clean, which is my biggest focus always. Is I hate clutter and garbage and dirty spatulas. It's so gross picking up a spatula that one of your grill cooks has been using all day, and it's just like the handle's just crusted. No thanks. No, that's like sitting down in a toilet seat that's still warm from somebody else at a public restroom. No thanks. No thanks. Hard pass. But yeah, so go be lazy with your staff. Get them, do your work, be diligent, and get them up to where they need to be, and then go be lazy with them. But don't be lazy in the sense of sitting in the back all day long. Be lazy in the sense that you don't have to run those positions for them anymore. All you need to do is walk around, see what you can help with, and then really dive into the people. Just help people. That's where there's a huge shift in the hospitality industry that I majorly support. And it's that they're going from They're going from food cultures to people cultures. And that's exactly what we needed, because for so long, people in the hospitality industry have just been abused, because they're abused by the chef or the front of house manager or managers, their schedule, their pay, whatever it is, they're abused and then abused by the guest. And so if you're a guest that goes out there and is just abusing a hospitality member, just a big middle finger to you, bud. These are humans. Everyone makes mistakes. We understand that you may have had a shitty day walking into the restaurant, but it's just food. Let them fix it. I know you're hungry. I know your kids are at home starving. I know. Trust me. I know all of those things. But it's a human being. Just act appropriately. They're not the ones that, they may have put the ticket in. They didn't necessarily cook. Well, they damn sure didn't cook the ticket or cook the food. They didn't plate it. They didn't garnish it. They didn't check it. They simply came to the table to do a 2-bite check-in to make sure that it was what you wanted. And if it wasn't, just tell them, hey, this wasn't my expectation. And I promise you they'll fix it. And if they don't, then that restaurant shouldn't be a restaurant. But I almost promise you that if you go to a restaurant and the people around you or the team members in that building, if they are hospitable, they will absolutely fix it for you and they will make it the way you want. But mistakes happen, so don't be a douche. In my last episode of Who I Am, I definitely talked about live music and how it makes the world go round. So I think what I am is I am an avid concert goer. I think this hits me to my core. And so I wanted to switch it up and instead of bore you on how much I love music, because it's everyone loves music. If you don't love music, I don't know, you're a fucking loser. But I wrote down some of the most impactful shows. I saw this on TikTok and it was like the most impactful shows just ever. And I think usually top of the list is Korn. I think it's Korn at Woodstock. When he walks on stage and there's a football 10 football fields of people and he just screams, "Are you ready?" And the place just goes bananas. But yeah, that's always top of the list. I wish I was there, but obviously I think I was a little too young. I think I watched that on TV maybe when that was before streaming. You had to pay for it on pay-per-view. That's how old I am. But yeah, as I saw that clip, I started to think like, what are some of my most influential concerts I've been to? I think top of the list, it's got to be my first. I'm not going to say adult because I wasn't driving yet. Shout out to Uncle Raj taking us again to the show. But it's got to be the first Dave Matthews show I saw. And this is before cell phones. You just had to kind of meet your buddies. You had to wait outside for them to pick you up because you couldn't call them to tell them to come outside, right? So we all get in the car. We all go over to Blossom Music Center or Amphitheater, excuse me, which Blossom's amazing. One road in, one road out. If you are sunk in there to see a show. So immediately walking in, you already have something in common with the stranger next to you, which is an awesome feeling. And there's no phones to keep people distracted. You had to sit on the lawn or in the amphitheater, under the pavilion and wait, which is amazing. And so I think this everyone gives Dave a hard time, Dave Matthews a hard time because he's corny and his voice is quirky and weird and all of those things. And he wakes up which is good fun. Even though I'm a Dave fan, it's good fun. I love, Jimmy. I think Jimmy Fallon does a really good impression of him. People have clowned on him, but he's been going, 30 years strong. So you can't poo-poo on it too much. But my very first show, just as a young man, and seeing everybody dance and have fun and be in the moment. And this was back in the day. People don't really know this, or maybe not know this about Dave. Back in the day, they had different classes of, like, the class A was, you could bring in picnics and blankets and sit down and whatever. And so as you worked your way down the alphabet, you just couldn't. There was less things you were allowed to bring in, which I always thought was funny. But when we first started going to Dave, you couldn't bring blankets. You couldn't bring in, a water bottle. You couldn't bring anything in, nothing, because people were lighting blankets on fire. I mean, it was rowdy. Granted, they were probably a bunch of weirdos, but Dave it was like, it was a big band, and it was a little jazzy, and it was really rock and roll. It was a lot of different kind of sounds that people just really dug. And so those early concerts were pretty awesome, and they were pretty lively and wild. His last few albums, he's been a little bit more jazzy and kind of smooth. But those first few albums, he kind of blended that rock and roll style with jam bands pretty nicely. And so I appreciated that, and I love the sound. And he's a great showman. He was, he was one of the first guys I saw that he would tell stories in between songs. He'd be like, "Hey, and back for the 43, and this is why we call this the song number 43," and then he would just start playing. Right? You couldn't understand anything he said. It was all mumbled, but he was probably drunk or high or who knows. But he told stories in between, and it was awesome. And it wasn't I'm not going to use the word interactive, but it was just awesome to see his fans interact with him. They would scream song names, and every once in a while he would change the set. Now it's cool to see on Instagram. You can actually see him. A lot of bands do it, not just him, obviously, now, but every show you went to was a different show. He didn't play the same set. It wasn't, the Britney Spears, Jessica, where it was so over-planned that you couldn't switch up, right? They could literally do any song in their catalog and scratch it off the set list and post it. But yeah, I think that first Dave show really set it off for me. And God, I used to travel to see him and partake in all the fun things that people do at Dave shows. But I don't do any of those things anymore. Kids, earmuffs. Another influential show, Wyclef Jean. I saw Wyclef perform at the House of Blues. It was really intimate. And he was one of the livest shows I've seen. Just like the energy, the crowd, everybody was into it. He had a kid had a t-shirt it said Wyclef for president, and he made one of the guys, manager or whatever, worked for him, went to his tour bus and got him a pair of shoes, and he traded him his pair of shoes for this Wyclef for president. I think the kid may have signed it or something. I don't remember. I know Wyclef signed the shoes, but it was cool because I'd never seen that before. I'd never seen someone stop the show and talk to the audience, and not just the audience, but like a specific person in the audience. Hey, you, what is that? Or having a conversation, and then go back to just absolutely going bananas around the stage. Not to mention, Wyclef is just one of the best to ever do it. Just production, musically, his sound, his swagger, all of those things. It was amazing to see. And everyone, sometimes you go to those shows and there's, people get rowdy and fight, whatever. And there was none of that. And everyone was jumping around like crazy. I think that was one of the shows he climbed the rafters. and kind of walked the balcony, but around the stage, which was kind of wild. I had never seen that before. But yeah, just in general, and not to mention, it wasn't a big place. It was pretty intimate, but he made it seem like there was 50,000 people there, and I'm sure there was probably under 10. I don't know how many fit in the House of Blues, but in Cleveland, but it couldn't be that much. So that peaked my concert going energy, and just I knew that I want to see live shows for the rest of my life. And I was pretty young. I was probably 16. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. So hats off, Wyclef. Also at the House of Blues, we saw Victor Wooten and the Soul Circus, and it was the reason this show stuck out to me. This was one of the shows that musically was probably one of the best shows I've ever seen. There's not a lot of singing. It's kind of one of those jam bands. There are backup singers, and they're all, they do have lyrics to the songs, but for a large portion of it, it was pretty amazing. And his brother or cousin, I think it's his brother. I think his name's Future Man. He plays the drum guitar, and so he's got a drum, but he's got a guitar, but at the end of it, it's not an actual like body. It's a drum machine, and he plays the drums one-handed. So I like, it was a made-up instrument. He actually had a guy play with him, if you guys are familiar with Keller Williams, who kind of did the same thing, who just made the songs on stage and looped it over and over. Keller Williams was a great show, but at one point, Victor Wooten, he's got to be 5 foot. I mean, he's a very small man. Plays the bass like he's 10 feet tall. Plays it around the back of his head like Jimi Hendrix. Really just absolutely incredible, super talented guy. But he passed his bass around to the crowd. And if you're seeing Victor Wooten and the Soul Circus, you could probably imagine a lot of the customers or people going to see him don't look like me. And so he passed the bass around, and magically every single person could just wail on the bass. And at the very end of the line, there was like this, probably, I don't know, the kid was probably 6 feet tall, maybe 100 pounds soaking wet, as white as a ghost. And they passed him the bass, and everyone in the crowd kind of like went, uh-oh, like, is he going to carry the torch? Man, he wailed on that thing like he was Flea. I mean, he shocked the entire crowd, and the entire crowd went nuts, and everyone was laughing and having a great time because, yeah, I mean, it was like handing the bass to Powder. and then him just going absolutely ham on it, and it was amazing to see, and it was so much fun. I've got some other ones on here. Modest Yahoo for 2 reasons. I saw Modest Yahoo. I think it's called I think it was like the Agora Theater in Cleveland. I forget. I think it's torn down now. But super Jewish guy, and it was just a crazy concert in general. It was probably 150 degrees in that thing, and we were crammed in like sardines, and there was literally nowhere to move. This is at the time of 3 Olives vodka, and I had a bottle. I poured it into a water bottle thinking this was a good idea. And so the entire night I just drank 90 degree 3 Olive cherry vodka with no chaser because I'm young and a moron. But it was a great show. And it was one of the first shows that I really saw kind of any, I don't know if it was really political, but they ran around stage with American flags, and then Madasya, who was wrapped in the Israeli flag, and just seeing that kind of together as a, we're in a, we're not in Cleveland, we're in South Euclid, Ohio, where I'm from, and it's not a huge community, but it was cool to see just someone stand for something in person. I had never seen anything like that, and it was really cool. And granted, I was hammered drunk at the end of the night. We drove separately. Me and Jake and Sax, we all drove separately from our parents, but for some reason, Jake's mom gave us a ride to our car, and we got in the car, and we were laughing about something, and she probably thought we were stoned or what have you, but yeah, she she literally goes, "Oh, who's fucked up?" And Sax legitimately, without missing a beat, goes, "These two." And I'm like, "Dude, what? Like, we weren't even messed up. Like, you're an asshole." But it was just funny, like literally narked on us immediately. So F you, Sax, you narc. Snitches get stitches, jerk. That's actually not even the only time he's ever done that. We were driving home, and I used to live in Chesterland in Ohio, which was far out from like any city. And we were leaving Denny's at like 2 a.m, as we did. Granted, I was probably, twisting things and inhaling things, but we weren't drunk. But Sax drove like a maniac everywhere because he thought he was, he like had a mullet and like the jean jacket with the collar, and he was like a 80s, he's like an 80s rock star, and so we drove up to a red light, and he's going back and forth to set the light off because impatient 18-year-olds or however old we were, and peels off, and there's literally a cop right there, and she for sure thought we were drunk, right? Like, it's 3 18-year-olds, it's, I don't know, 2-3 in the morning, whatever. She for sure thought we were hammered drunk. She thought she had us pinned, but we just didn't drive drunk, right? And Sax didn't drink much, so he was always the driver. Loser. And so she pulls us over, and she goes, "Who's been drinking?" And he goes, "These two." And I was like, we weren't even drinking. Like, I was like, dude, we didn't even smoke in the car. There's no way she could smell anything. I was like, you literally just narked on us? Yeah, you punk bitch. But yeah. Anyways, moving on. Rose Bowl. I would say Rose Bowl Eminem. I went and saw, what was that tour? The Monster Tour? Something like that. It was him and Rihanna. It was my first show. First off, I sat like third row. We didn't go front and center. We sat on the sides where there were actual seats. I'm tall. Jess is not. So we got seats where we could actually see. But I think it was like second or third row. But it was one of the only shows still to this day that I've seen that was like big production, right? 2 all-star. I mean, Eminem's a big enough star on his own, but to throw Rihanna on there, and the video, they play videos that match with the set and all these things. And so I never got to see Eminem because Mom would probably never let me go see Eminem without her, and she sure as shit wasn't going to see Eminem. But I never got to see kind of those underground clubs or the House of Blues shows that were just, pretty simple and just him rapping on stage. But it was cool to see an actual big performance because it was something new to me, and it was amazing. And I used to, coming from kind of the Dave Show era and some of these smaller acts that I really loved that didn't do full productions, I used to clown on the big productions, right? Like Taylor Swift, I'll probably never see, which is fine. I mean, if the girls want to go see, I'll take them. But that like kind of scheduled, planned, you go here, you do this, you sing that. That doesn't really entice me because I want it to be creative and I want the shows to be different. I usually tend to go see, if Pearl Jam's in Austin, I'll go see them in Dallas as well, right? Like I'll go see a few shows and they'll be different, right? Even in Austin, they'll do 2 or 3 nights. And every night will be different, right? And so I like that. I like that feeling that I'm going to go see the same person, but it's going to be a completely different show. I'm not really into, the set list stays the same and stuff like that. But to see that show, I mean, granted, again, it was Eminem. He is the man. He is the best. The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, as far as rapping, in my opinion, will be concerned. But just to see that production style was pretty amazing, and the show was great. And Rihanna was awesome. She looked beautiful. She had that. I think that was like when she had that like crazy dress on. I don't remember what it was, but anyway, she looked gorgeous, and Eminem just absolutely killed it and was amazing. I got 2 more. I got Jack White, Guitar God, Jack White, from White Stripes. If you're not familiar, but we saw him at Coachella, and there were probably 5 or 6 of us, and we're having, and I mean, Coachella was amazing. We're having an amazing time, but I had never seen anyone command like 375,000 people, and it was just incredible. It was weird because at some points throughout the night, you do kind of get this feeling that if shit goes sideways, we were pretty close to the front, not all the way, but we were probably in kind of towards the middle of the crowd, and just that overwhelming feeling, like if something goes wrong, like we're in trouble. We are absolutely in trouble. But then he jams or whatever, says something to the crowd, and the crowd goes nuts and whatever. But it was a really weird feeling to see one guy really command almost 400,000 people, and then to also have this other feeling on the other side of you, like, yeah, it's pretty scary. This is actually pretty scary. But it was awesome. And I'll always remember the feeling, and I'll always remember both feelings, right? I'll remember the feeling about how great Jack was, and then I'll also remember the feeling about just that kind of scared little boy for a second that was out in the middle of a crowd. The other reason I put Jack on this list, I saw Jack here in Austin. I think it was right when the doors opened up from COVID. I went solo because I bought every ticket I could find as soon as we started opening up doors. That was the first thing I did. I just bought every concert ticket, and usually I always buy 2 because I always invite someone, whatever. But I only bought 1 because I didn't care to invite anyone. I didn't want any of that. I just wanted to go start seeing shows again. And so I got there early. I bought a floor seat. I bought, obviously I bought the poster, but I bought, I bought not early entry, but I bought a parking pass so I could get there early, and get nice front and center. And so it was one of the only shows still to this day where I was probably row, 2, in the standing pit. But what I really loved about that show was the first show I'd ever seen where he locks your phone, and you put it in a pouch, you put a little clip down, and you can't unlock it until you get back upstairs and you're walking out. And it almost, granted, this is a lot more of the rock side than Dave, so it's not chill at all. It's very high energy. He goes for, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. But it's like an hour and a half or 2 hours. It's straight, right? Like it's like ends a song, starts a song, ends a song. And so he's sweating and dripping. He's all gross. but it brought me back to that feeling that for the next however many minutes, he's got you and he's got your full attention. And there isn't any phones. There's none of, I'm a tall person. So like I have my phone, and I'm blocking someone behind and they're watching the show through my phone. Right. And so there's zero distraction. And I hadn't had that in God, I don't even know how long, because we've had phones for so long. And so just bringing that feeling back of just like, hey, I've got you, you're mine, and just give me all your attention. And I was like, God, why aren't more people doing this? And then I saw a comedy. I saw Kevin Hart, who did the same thing. Really respected it. At first I was kind of weird. I was like, it's a comedy show. But he even mentions it. He's like, I'm going to tell jokes, and I took all your phones away, so no one in here can even say I said it. And so, but yeah, I just respect that. I think I think more people should do that. It's amazing. It's a great feeling. It's really is it's a great feeling that, and I've got kids, and emergencies happen, whatever. You just walk outside, whatever. But yeah, it's a cool feeling that you've got 10,000, however many people are around you, that they're all, again, you share that one thing in common, and it's you're here for a great night of entertainment and music, and really, really cool. The last one that I really thought that I could think of, I'm sure there's plenty more. And I'll kind of follow back up with Modest Yahoo, but Big Sean and Wiz. Big Sean opened for Wiz. I was obliterated. I brought joints with my number on it, and I threw him on stage thinking he was going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to call this guy and party with him. But hey, I was young. I was dumb. It was worth a shot. But the reason it was really cool is I was there, that concert was the day that Finally Famous dropped. And a month later, Big Sean was so big that he no longer opened for Wiz, which was awesome. It was, I had never been part of something like that where, and now obviously I've seen Eminem and Rihanna, so two big superstars, but at the time, it was always a cool opener, but I don't know, Buzzcocks opened for Pearl Jam, right? Those guys always open for him, or Alien Ant Farm, believe it or not, opened for 311, right? So it was there's always that sub star that's going to open for someone big. This was really, it was 4 hours of just amazing music, and it was awesome. And I'd never been a part of that, and it was great. It was 110 degrees outside in Arizona. It was crazy. It was crazy. But the other reason I put Modest Yahoo on my list is Modest Yahoo it's my first concert with all three of my children here in Arizona, here in Austin, and it was awesome, and the girls loved it. And Logan is my concert going buddy. He's been to Wu-Tang. He's been to a few reggae shows. He's been to Mo. He's my concert going buddy. So I love taking him to shows and opening him up to experiences, and also introduce him to what concerts are, right? People are smoking and drinking and having fun, but also not always having fun. And there's for sure things that can happen. And so I wanted to always introduce him to it myself. He's been to ACL. He's been to a music festival, so he's living it, man. He's been bit by it. He loves going to shows. And sound out, and now so do the girls. They always ask me like, "Oh, when is the next show?" I go, "Dude, we don't have any concert tickets." They always want to go to Blackpink. So Blackpink, if you ever hear this, even though you never will, come to Austin, and my daughters will want to go to your show. Stop touring in Europe or wherever you are, not in America, please. I'll give an honorable mention. My brother's 30th birthday. We flew to Vegas. And we went and watched the Throne tour. That was absolutely amazing and incredible, but also just like wild. Like I think we were in the MGM amphitheater, whatever it's called. I think we were in there, and by they I mean Jay-Z and Kanye had not even been. They weren't even in the city of Las Vegas yet. They may have not even been in the state, but they were not there. And so we waited for 2.5 hours or something like that, 3 hours, and people were throwing up. And it's Vegas, so people are on like accidents. It's just like it was like a nightmare. But the second the lights went down. I remember every second of that show. It was absolutely incredible. But yeah, that's definitely an honorable mention. But I think the other ones stuck out a little bit more because that waiting for forever, and the DJ set went on for so long. But yeah, I've seen some really great shows, and if you're a homebody and you don't get out much, spend your energy. I know a lot of the introverts, they get fueled by staying at home and whatever. Spend your energy on a live show, then go home for the next month and don't leave. But spend your time. It's worth it. I promise you, it's worth it. I think in the kind of the category, right? So, of what I am, I think just emotionally, I would describe myself as a hopeless romantic. I love stories. I am for sure a lover, not a fighter. Fighting to me doesn't make sense unless you're fighting for love. But just the physical act of like harming another person doesn't really make sense to me. I love love. Yeah, I'm a big fan of love, and I'm a big fan of in that happily ever after. I think my brother and I have just had such a shit deal with our hands in life that I think that it just infatuates me. That's like, man, my happily ever after, it's got to be here. It's definitely got to be here. And I love romantic comedies. I'm not really a big like romance fan as far as movies go, or even books. I know people love romance books. They're just like so weird to me. I don't need to read porn. I just don't. I can't. It's very odd to me. If you like it, hey, listen, that's a huge genre. People love it. That's your thing. Hey, good for you. That makes you happy. Not my thing. But kids movies, watching kids movies. You always know kids movies end up with a happy ending. But I still get teary. I still get teary eyed. It doesn't matter. Bad Guys 2. Bad Guys 2 is a fun movie. I'd still get teary eyed. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that I just feel it. I feel it and I love it, and it's so fun. And you just kind of wait for that happy ending. It's great. It's amazing. But yeah, I'm absolutely a true believer. Maybe it's because I love magic, right? Maybe it's because I'm just that's my infatuation with magic, right? Is I want to believe in it, right? I know it's not real, right? I know that their hands are just fast, or they're, the art of distraction, whatever, right? I know those things, but maybe it's just my infatuation of wanting to believe in magic, that I have that. I've got that in me, and I love it. I love the happily ever afters. I don't mind shedding a tear anymore. I was watching I was watching one of my favorite stories, revolving around movies, and maybe I told this. I don't know. If I did, I apologize. But I'm in Arizona. I'm 20. God, I don't know, 24, 25, something like that. And I'm sitting with Buddha, and we're watching Toy Story 3 with some friends, and we talk a lot. I'm sure you could imagine. I kibitz all the time. I'll talk to anybody, anywhere. And so we're probably bullshitting through halfway through, more than halfway through this movie and whatever. And all of a sudden, that scene comes up where they're in the incinerator. And I kind of noticed, like, we hadn't been talking in a while. And I kind of, like, do one of, like, the shifty eyes, and I think Buddha saw it out of the corner of his eyes, and he's like, he's like this, and so then I'm like, what? Why are you looking? He goes, dude, I'm crying, and I started dying laughing because it was such an impactful scene, and it's funny because in my head, I was watching from a different lens, I think, even though neither one of us had kids yet. I was looking from a different lens because I was looking around like, this is a kids movie? I was like, this is the darkest kids movie I think I've ever seen in my life. And I look over, and yeah, he's like bawling his eyes out. So it was absolutely hilarious. But yeah, man, all these movies, especially with my kids. Elemental just absolutely got me. What was the last? Wild Robot. I think every time I've watched Wild Robot, I think I've cried like 6 times. I just like the kid, the robot with the duckling and raising them and letting them go, and the emotion. Oh man, that movie was incredible. I walked out of the theater with the kids. First off, I was crying. Charlie's heartless. She's like never cries. As May always calls it, like stupid when she's like about to cry. Logan's on my level now. With especially with watching animes that are just so sad. And have just so many impactful scenes. He's like, bro, I cried like a baby. I'm like, yeah, that was a tough one to watch, man. That was a tough one. But my girls, I think, still think crying might be kind of lame in movies. So it's funny to see. We watched. I think I watched Homeward Bound with Esme, and Charlie like walked out halfway through, and Esme started to get like teary-eyed with Shadow at the end. And then, of course, I'm crying when Shadow runs up the hill at the end because I've only seen this movie 10,000 times in my life. And then Charlie comes out, and she's like laughing because there's like tears. There's like tears in our eyes are like full of water and whatever. And I go, yeah, you didn't want to watch it because you knew you would cry. And she's like, no, I didn't. This movie's not good. And I'm like, okay, honey. I'm like, listen, it's okay. Like, if you cry in the movies, it's okay. Like, but I always do it. Happy or sad. Elemental just crushed me, especially having the kids now, just putting myself in their shoes, man. That one got me too. But yeah, it's that hopeless romantic side of me that I love that happily ever after. I love that feeling of happily ever after. So go chase yours. Go get it. Whatever you think it is. And while you're chasing it, maybe that changes. But I dare you to go get it. My as I discussed kind of in the last one, being a team player. So I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention, kind of what I am and what molded me as being a son and a brother, and now being a parent. Of those three, I think everything on this list, being a parent is my favorite. And I'm not saying that just because, that's what you should say. I love being a parent. I love hanging out with my kids, even if we're not doing anything. I love being a parent. I always wanted to be a parent. There was a while after my mom passed that I didn't think I wanted to be a parent anymore. And then I started a family, and it's one of my favorite things. I always tell people, if I wasn't a parent, I would be in Italy somewhere, and I would be learning how to make bread from some old Italian lady who probably has no teeth, who hasn't worn a bra in like 40 years, who can't wear sandals because she's got so much salt in her body, and probably hits me because I'm not making the bread right. But because I have kids, that's why I work hard, so we can do cool shit, so that to teach Logan how to be a gentleman, and how to treat ladies right, and then also to show my daughters what a gentleman is, and what they can expect, and what they should be looking for in a male partner, or in a partner in general. And taking them to a steak dinner isn't necessarily gonna wow them anymore, because they should be looking for substance, not just some dildo who can take them to a fucking steak dinner because their daddy has got cash. Being a parent changed my perspective on almost everything, which it should. But yeah, it's the best. It's the best. I mean, I think Tom Segura said it's selfish, right? You fall in love with miniature versions of you. Like, it's the most selfish thing on earth. It's so much fun. Going to the trampoline park, riding around, watching them ride around on scooters and getting in trouble. It's the best. It literally is the best. It's so much fun. Going to the pool. I can't tell you how many times the girls I've either thrown, they've jumped off me, they've done something weird in the pool. There's just so many fun things. Vacations are always better. Every time I'm doing something and I'm doing it solo, at least in one point while I'm doing it, I'll always go, Esme would love this, or man, Logan would get a kick out of this, or Charlie would absolutely die over this. So miss him every day, but love being a dad. It's fun, keeps me young, lets me be a goof for the rest of my life, and gives me an excuse. So being a son, as I kind of already beat this dead horse already. Huge mama's boy, but I think as much as I drove my mom crazy, I think I was a good son. I think I was. I was always fun. Always kept things lighthearted. Always wanted to make sure everyone was okay. I still am a son, shout out to Ray, but, I think the thing I'm best at, of the three, and I think I'm a pretty good dad. I think a lot of good dads out there want to think they're the best, but we all have our flaws. Decisions that you've made, things you've said, they're not always the best, but stringing those decisions along, are really what define you, I think, as a parent in general, right? Can you make great decisions in a line, right? Because every decision you make isn't going to be the right one. We all know it. If you're a parent, oh my God, I've fucked up a million times, and it's okay, right? That's what therapy's for. But No, I think I'm a really great brother. I might be the best brother to Mr. Inconvenient, aka Aaron. Yeah, I'm a superb brother. The things I've done for him over the years, I am absolutely superb brother. There's a thing that we have. My brother and I, and this is going to sound terrible, but we have no feelings. Feelings have been lost on us for decades, and it's good and bad, right? So there's certain days when you want to be like picked up by your brother, and it ain't gonna happen, right? Because they're gonna tear into you. But on the opposite spectrum of that, it helps keep us in check, and not taking emotions into it, we're still able to tell each other the absolute truth on what you should be doing and whether you fucked up or not, which I think is I think that's a huge benefit to mine and Aaron's relationship, because we are able to tell each other the truth. And I literally Instagram him every day. We talk every day. There's not a day that goes by I don't talk to him, which was super important to my mom. And we don't do it. We're not doing it for my mom. That's just mine and his relationship, right? But yeah, the no emotions, and we're not robots. I don't want anyone to think out there like, oh, we're robots. But if we're wrong, there's no sugarcoating it. There's no, oh well, you could. No, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Fix it. And sometimes that leads to a fight, right? Sometimes that leads to, because who wants to hear they're wrong? No one in the world ever wants to hear they're wrong. I mean, that's the worst, right? Like, you're wrong. Like, no, I'm not. Because you have to take accountability for your actions, which we do. And sometimes it gets rough, but having those open, honest conversations definitely leads to a better relationship. And so I have always held Aaron to a great standard, especially with myself. But yeah, there's times where I go, no, dude, you're wrong. And there's times there he's wrong with me, not just wrong in whatever he done. There's times there's other times when I'm wrong, and he's got to say it, and it sucks. And we usually fight and argue and yell, and then the next day we call each other, and we'll never say sorry. I mean, that's out of the question. But we'll move forward, right? Like, yeah, you're right. Not necessarily, hey, I'm going to apologize for it, but yeah, you're right. And now I need to take accountability for my actions and what I've done or said or whatever. Also, my brother used to do this thing when we were little, and this might be why I'm a cook, but it'd be Aaron and I, my mom's out doing something with, my stepdad or wherever. She's out popping around, whatever. And I go, oh, you want lunch? Yeah, I want lunch. So I go, let's make sandwiches or hot dogs or whatever, whatever we were making. And I would make it, I'd make my plate. And he'd always go, oh man, that looks so good. And I go, yeah, it does look good. And he'd go, oh, can I have that? And I go, no, make your own, And he'd go, oh, but yours looks so much better than mine. I'm like, fine, take this. So yeah, I was like always making lunch for him. I'm not the only person, by the way, that knows Mr. Inconsiderate. I'll tell you a few stories though, because why not? This is why I have the podcast and not Aaron. We're playing softball, as young Jewish boys do when they graduate high school and they're home for the summer. And so I put a team together, and Aaron's filling in and whatever. And, I'm playing shortstop. Well, I'm a big guy. Maybe can't move as fast as some people might think. Snag a ball. Boom. Snag that puppy. Right off thin air. Throw it over to my brother. He's not standing on first base, though. His jaw's like open. He's so surprised I caught this ball. He's laughing hysterically, and I'm pissed. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? I just made the best play that I might ever play. And he goes, you know you would never get to that ball. You would never do it. And I'm pissed. Because if it was opposite, oh boy. If Uncle Aaron made that play and he threw it to me and I was not on first base, oh, you might as well have just set the cars on fire. We're in World War III. Just everything's ablaze. I'm getting screamed at 100%. And so I'm like, all right, whatever. I usually let things go pretty fast. Like, whatever, forgive, forget, whatever. I don't know, maybe an inning later or something like that. Maybe it was the same inning. It's been so long now. I snag another ball. And he's not on first base again. I throw it over. He's not on first. This is what he does. He catches it and he starts pointing at me like it was my fault. I was like, well, I mean, what the fuck? What the fuck? You just told me, he goes, you snow coned it. You barely even got to go. It doesn't matter what happened. It matters that you, again, were not on first base. You told me that I would never be able to get that ball. And I have just now shown you a second time, yet you were not on first base. Mr. Inconsiderate. Another time. I think he was a freshman in college, or maybe he was going into sophomore year. So he was home that first year from college. He's at a party. Something happened at the party. Who knows? Something inconvenienced Mr. Inconvenient. He calls me. He's pissed. Now, mind you, this is like 2:00 in the morning. And of course, I'm up because I'm always up. And he goes, come get me. And I go, no. He goes, you better come get me right now. He's at Goldstein's. I go, okay. So I'm like, all right, I guess. I mean, it's 2:00 in the morning. So I go get dressed, drive. It was probably a 20-minute drive. I get there. No Aaron. Where the hell is he? I'm calling him. Because we have cell phones now. Calling him like crazy. He won't come out. I was probably there for like 20 minutes. And in my head, because, a normal human being, after 5 minutes, they would have been like, I'm out. I'm going home. I was probably there for 20, 25 because I knew had I left and then he came out, oh boy. He was going to drown me in the pool. He was going to drown me in the pool the next day. So I'm there for like 25, probably 30 minutes, something like that. And again, now it's probably 3:30 in the morning. No Aaron. Never came out. So he called me, he yelled at me, made me get up. Then I drove to go get him. Fell asleep. Mr. Inconvenient. I've got a lot more stories, but that's Uncle Aaron in a nutshell. Yeah, I'm proud to be his brother. I love that for a long time. It was just the tripod, of me, Mom, and Aaron. We grew up super close. And even though I'm, I don't know, 10 states away, or however many states away I am, we still talk every day. We still make it a point to reach out to each other, even with our busy schedules. Miss him every day. He drove to Arizona. Mom passed away, and I wanted to move to Arizona, and he drove me across country, like an older brother should. And so, when you need him, he's there for sure, and he's awesome. And he's much smarter, and he's doing actually good deeds in this world instead of just feeding people and being abused by guests. He's actually healing the world. So good for you, Uncle Aaron. The next subject ties into kind of who actually Aaron and I kind of are. Our overall look. We had a lot of time growing up with our grandpa, who was a huge goofball, Sammy D. Sammy Davis took us to breakfast every Sunday. Really just a really nice man. But I'm a comedy enthusiast. I kind of talked about it a little bit, just being the class clown, last pod. But it's what helped mold me. Being a comedy enthusiast, it's, Farley is king for sure. But we spent a lot of time with my grandpa, who was just a goofball. Just an absolute goofball. One time my mom, when she was young, she was driving and she hit the corner of the house with her car. And of course she's freaking out. And my grandpa is laying on the couch listening to music. We weren't born yet. This is way before we were born. This is probably her high school days. And she hit the side of the house, and my grandpa just didn't get off the couch. He was just like listening to music in his own daze. And my mom comes in screaming, freaking out, like, I just hit the side of the house, and all, just of course giving him like kind of the hey, I need help. And he goes, oh, just like sweep it up. He goes, sweet, grandma will never notice. Dorothy was my grandma, but Dorothy will never notice. And my mom's like, are you insane? You can see through the closet. my grandma was just like, just put a blanket over it. She won't notice. So that was kind of my grandpa is just like out to lunch. But he would first off, he babysat us a lot. He used to drive me and my friends to Hebrew High School. I spent a lot of time with my grandpa growing up. Going to the JCC, just walking through the men's room with like 800 naked men was just the weirdest thing on planet Earth. When one of them's your grandpa, you're like, oh God, Europeans. But when we spent so much time together, he loved the Three Stooges. That was his thing. And the slapstick comedy, the physicality of it, was one of his favorites. And so I grew up just loving it. And I would find myself, by myself watching it because I just enjoyed it so much. It was something that I was fond of. And then moving that into who I am as a person, I am now very animated and I am very loud and, a goof and a trickster and all those things. I was just doing riddles with the kids on, when we were out to lunch. And so I am very into that comedy style. And I think a lot of that has helped mold me who I am because the physical comedy bits, the animated individual, really brightens my day. And so I think if it brightens my day, what I always envision is that it'll brighten everybody else's day. And so I do like smart comedy. I love very dry humor. I do enjoy all of that. I am a comedy enthusiast in general. But I think just the slapstick really where I'm at. Things like, Airplane and Tommy Boy, because Farley was just a tornado of a human being. And to me, that was comedy gold. And yes, he was out of this realm too early in life for us to truly enjoy it. But I absolutely loved everything he did. Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, all those guys, the Caddyshack eras, things like that. That was, it was a shtick, right? It wasn't just telling a story or a joke. It was showing us a joke. It was creating something funny with your body and and the atmosphere around you. And that's all due to my grandpa literally bringing us up on Three Stooges, right? There were so many times where we would be up late watching Three Stooges, and my mom would come home from, a date or something. And she'd be like, Dad, why are the kids up? And he's like, oh no, they're going to bed. And mind you, we're literally sitting right next to him. And she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, just resting my eyes. That's what he always used to say. Just resting my eyes. Just resting my eyes. And it's like, yeah, no, that's not resting your eyes, Dad. That's sleeping. And just that interaction and that relationship that my mom and my grandpa had was just so much fun to watch. And it was probably frustrating for my mom for sure. But we always had a great time between, my grandpa and my mom and, Aaron and I. We just always had a good time. In between the ass whoopings, of course. Which, don't worry, I tell my kids all the time how much fun we had. But I think the comedy was instilled in me at a young age. And also, girls like to laugh, Found that out at a young age. They like to laugh. And if they find you funny, you don't always have to be cute or handsome. You can just be funny. I'm proof of it. So, that's a big part of who I am. The last one, it's hard to explain what, because I'm not really a nerd. I don't think I'm smart enough to be a nerd. I like nerdy things. I'm a nerd enthusiast. But I don't think I'm smart enough to be a nerd. Nerds are typically smart. They also typically look for like a lot more of the whys, right? Or they look for a lot of things like backstories, right? I'm probably a music nerd. I do like to read a lot about music and musicians. They interest me a lot. But like if you ask me, in the Civil War, in Marvel Civil War, why did you know why that? No, I don't. I like the action part, buddy. Go be a nerd somewhere else. But I have a lot of nerd friends who are into things like that, that teach me a lot of things. And half the time I don't listen at all because I don't care to. But I changed it from nerd enthusiast to I'm a social nerd or a social gamer. I don't really enjoy video games as much as I used to. I use them as an aspect. I used to love video games. When we're talking, and I'm sure I'll have Paulie on here to talk video games because he's been my gamer buddy since we were, God, I don't know. I'm just going to say since Sega. So that's like 1994-ish. But it's funny, as we've gotten older, because Paul has shifted from video games to board games, so have I. And so I've always loved board games. Risk, Monopoly, like all of those. But when I'm talking board games, I'm talking like nerdy board games now that take thought and skill and not just, hey, I got to roll a dice that's higher than this person or whatever. There has to be some thought and some strategy that goes into it. And we battle back and forth. Sometimes he whoops my ass, sometimes I whoop his, which is funny because he probably has a better strategy than me 99% of the time. I have some of that luck on my side. Lady lucky smile. And so, I just use it for a social aspect. I do love video games. I wish they made better ones. A lot of them. I'm not really into Madden anymore. So a lot of my attention is no longer in World of Warcraft and Diablo. I've just played them for so long, that I'm kind of just waiting. Destiny took a good stab at it for a while with Destiny. But if I don't have friends that are going to play with me, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to play. Hockey, I'll always go back to. But I like to be social. I'm a social butterfly. I like to, talk shit and I like to goof around and joke and super competitive. And there's nothing better than whooping ass from someone that you know. I'm sorry, but I'm in a fantasy baseball league, and I want to win the championship so bad. I haven't even made the playoffs. That's how bad I am at fantasy baseball. But I live for 2 or 4 weeks, depending on schedules, and it is literally to whoop Victor and Huck's ass. That's all. That is all I care about. I don't care about the rest. It's like Ohio State versus Michigan. That is our playoffs. At least back in the day, that was our playoffs, because that was the only game all season long that mattered. We could have a losing record. If we won the week of Michigan, it was a winning season. That was, hey, we won. We beat Michigan. But now with playoffs, it's obviously a little bit different. But it's still a huge rival. But I think I carry kind of that intensity and that rivalry into other things. So I love playing against Paul, because we've been doing it for, God, I don't know, 20, well, probably longer than that, probably like 30 years plus. We've been playing games and video games and a lot of that stuff, and it's just great to whoop some ass. We play a lot of co-op games, but every once in a while you got to whoop some ass. So that's the competitive side of me, because I'm too old to go out and physically tackle someone. I don't think I'll have shoulders the next day. I think they'll just be missing. So whooping some ass in a video game or in fantasy or board games is really where I'm at. It's that competitive edge that still lets me get that out, because I think once you're competitive, you got to transfer that energy somewhere, because if not, you'll just go batshit crazy. So yeah. I think you can translate that or correlate that into your professional life, being competitive. But I think everyone that has a job has a slight competitiveness to them, because they probably want to make more money. So I think everyone just in general is like, I want to do a good job, or I want a raise, I want this, and they strive for the raise, right? That's the goal. That's the reward, is more money. Whereas, yes, that's great. Everyone loves more money. Everyone needs more money. But what I would love more than anything is to hold up the fantasy baseball trophy, or to beat someone's ass in a game and it says you are the declared winner, right? That really is the competitive side of me. And then obviously board games, same thing. So even though I am a social gamer or a social nerd, I think that it gives me a good release for my competitive edge in a healthy way. Because you love trash talk. I mean, who doesn't love a good trash talking session? So yeah, that's me. That's me in a nutshell. I know these were probably tedious and seem more like a list. I'm gonna work on just having conversations from here on out. But I just wanted to round out who I was, so my audience who don't know me can get an idea of who I am. And I think that's important, because as I tell stories or my feelings or how my beliefs, whatever, you can kind of track them back to oh, he believes this because of this, or oh, he would tend to say something like that because of who he is or what he is. So I hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to the next one. Stay hungry, Padawans.